Haunter, let's get back to Sabrina's gym. You know, I can't defeat her psychic Pokemon without you. Please, just help me save my friends, and you'll never have to help me out again, okay? Okay, great, let's get going. Actually, could we just listen to the podcast first?
Hey, I'm Veronica Taylor.
And I'm Rena Taylor.
And this is
The Trainer's Guide. Today's episode,
Haunter versus Kadabra.
Wow. Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
Episode 23.
Happy spring. It's officially spring as of yesterday.
It's
very exciting.
The equinox, so spring here in the northern hemisphere. And happy autumnal equinox for those of you in the southern hemisphere. It's a great moment of equality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a good time to reflect on that in everything.
Balance your eggs.
Balance, yeah.
Can you balance eggs in the autumnal equinox?
Okay, so
I guess
the equinox is the equinox, but it's how you experience it, whether it's vernal or autumnal, depending on your hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an equal amount of sunlight, daytime hours on both, everywhere around the globe, because of the way the earth is positioned to the sun determines whether it's spring or fall.
So in the spring equinox, we balance the egg.
At any equinox you can balance.
Oh, I feel like we just do it.
We only do that because you don't
spring.
think about balancing an egg all year round. You just do it at that one moment. So some people have told me you can balance an egg all the time, but again, no one ever thinks to do that.
But that's why we've balanced an egg
every year.
Every year, because everything's equal or something.
That's right.
So
that's it. So, and also we think about equality, which is about respect and that people should be treated equally.
Mm-hmm.
That's the balance in life.
Mm-hmm.
This episode also deals with balance.
Yeah. Treat your eggs with respect and your Pokemon with respect.
And yourself, because
and yourself and other people.
Yes, because we see here in Sabrina that she needs balance.
Mm-hmm.
She lacks that, and we can get into that as we go.
Yeah, you're jumping right in. Let's do it.
I know. So, all right.
This episode kind of starts off a little strange because they're walking again. They're going back to, where is she? They came from Lavender Town, and they're going back to
her town,
Psychic Town.
Yeah,
and Brock, we're learning, is kind of afraid of ghost Pokemon. I'm not sure.
He's more afraid in this than he thought he was, and even Misty seems to like Haunter,
right?
Until she gets the lick of death and she's paralyzed, which is, I wasn't sure if she was actually paralyzed or if she just was grossed out.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. But then Ash said, Haunter, you paralyzed her.
Yes.
So I'm not really sure what that means.
Because they didn't go into it in the episode of what his attacks are or anything. So we, as people who are watching this from just the show's perspective, not looking into it any further, that was not explained.
Yeah.
But she did have all those squiggly lines around her while she was grossed out or paralyzed on the ground.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, because I think Jesse and James were paralyzed. Remember, they were paralyzed in one episode? I can't remember what that was, but it might have been. Well, they were paralyzed in one episode.
They were statues.
Frozen. Yeah, and then they kind of remained like that the whole episode. So perhaps if Misty was paralyzed,
she was twitching though.
She moved.
Yeah.
Later. So maybe she was just grossed out.
Let's keep it at that because I thought that was funnier.
Yeah.
So anyway, I will say right now, Ash is on his way to try to earn the Marsh badge.
Mm-hmm.
But this episode used a lot of old footage. I felt like they were up against a deadline and they said, let's just pull all of these old pictures of things we used in the last episode and the one before that and just kind of put them all together and get this one out the door.
It was very much a recap episode.
Mm-hmm.
So they definitely went back a lot and rehashed what happened before and then added a little bit in there but not a lot.
Exactly, which was interesting. And it's still...
But we learned a lot.
That's it. We didn't need the new footage, I guess you could say.
It's all the same thing.
I thought also in Tower of Terror, episode 22, there was a quality to the animation that was not in this
This
episode.
one was different. It felt a little like cleaner. Like it felt like I thought it was like a higher resolution. Like there were certain things that were crisper. Like when Misty and Brock are waving the flags with Ash's face on it. Like the flags themselves were blurry, but his face was really crisp.
Right.
So it felt like an odd. It felt like they were kind of advancing
or changing.
Yeah, but not necessarily. Not everything was changing, but there seemed to be a bit of a shift in this episode. So it would be interesting to see if that continues to look like that, or if this was just kind of one of those. And maybe because they were using old footage, maybe that's part of it, as if they were adding on, or I don't know.
Or cleaning it up in some ways.
Yeah.
Well, they were standing outside because they are cheering Ash on for him to go back inside and battle Sabrina.
Yes.
So, and they were saying, good luck to you, we're going to stay out here. But I loved that they have their little... their banners and their little pennants, and Pikachu even has a good luck sign, and it was adorable.
Yep.
Ash gets inside and says, Sabrina, I'm going to...
I challenge you.
Battle you.
Let's have a rematch. And she calls out Kadabra, and he goes, okay, Haunter, come on. And Haunter is nowhere to be seen. Haunter's just disappeared because Ash didn't catch Haunter. Haunter just...
He's along for the ride.
Came along with them. So Haunter isn't there. And
my favorite thing here is that Ash then, so we have those guys outside with their signs all of a sudden, and he suddenly pulls out his binoculars and his megaphone as he's calling for Haunter.
It's so funny.
It's all still kind of slapsticky and some just classic humor to this, which I thought was pretty great.
And so Brock and Misty and all of Ash's Pokemon, actually, he calls out everybody. Charmander, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, they're all standing there with Pikachu. And he goes, okay, well, one of you guys, will you like step up and fight? And none of them want to do it. And so
they all back away.
Yeah, they
it's
all
hilarious.
run away. And instead of forfeiting, Ash just goes, I quit, and runs. And they all run. They try to run out of the gym.
Yes.
And Sabrina chases them and gets Brock and Misty and turns them into actual dolls.
And they're sitting in the dollhouse.
But they fall down first, and then
like almost like paper dolls, but then you see that they are kind of more like stuffed dolls.
Yeah. And then the mysterious man from 2 episodes ago, the jogger, he reappears and transports Ash and his Pokemon out before Sabrina can turn him into a doll as well.
Right. This cool teleporting and he can just pop in and out. It's very Star Trek.
And Sabrina goes, he's back.
She is so incredibly calm.
Yes. She's kind of like Sailor Pluto.
I guess you're right. She's devoid of emotion. She doesn't show emotion. But her doll does. Yeah. Which is where we find out from the mystery man that Sabrina, as a baby, showed psychic abilities and began, when she was a toddler really, to train intensively.
And she really was into it. Like, she really just wanted to focus on that. And her parents, I think, had a hard time dealing with that. And then she basically didn't want to have any friends. She just wanted to focus on honing her abilities, so much so that she forced her parents away with her psychic powers. And then because of that, she split into 2. So her trainer side is the adult person, and the doll that she carries is her childlike self before she became
her true self before
evil.
Training is what they said. She wanted to be left alone so much that she had to kind of put that true self somewhere. So it split into the doll.
But
so
also
interesting.
The doll's kind of creepy if that's her true self.
Well, that is a judgment, but I think we all were a little bit creeped out by this episode. But it is still, this is just who she is. So I think it is an important point to say, this is how she dealt with things.
Yes.
She kind of rejected her own heart and was in that stone cold, whatever, teenage self, whatever she is right now. And it's interesting because in real life, we have that dissociative identity disorder where people can split themselves into two or more distinct personalities. And the personalities control the person's behavior at different times. I think it's, if you are someone who happens to have that, or you are someone who happens to know someone like that, you often have to deal with the different personalities quite separately.
Yes.
And I thought it was interesting that Ash doesn't do that, or Misty and Brock as well. They all deal with her as a whole person. They don't speak to the doll differently.
No, they don't. I mean, they talk to each of them. When the doll's speaking, they're not addressing Sabrina. They're talking to the doll, but they don't shift their tone.
Exactly.
They
do that.
Exactly. They treat her as a whole, which is an interesting thing. I mean, I think it's interesting too that she was so dedicated to her craft that she didn't have any balance between her work and, her personal life. And that's kind of something that I think in general for all of us, especially now working from home or, if you're trying to find a new job or whatever, so many jobs are now demanding so much more of you.
Yeah.
And I think as a freelance artist, there's no separation between work and, fun anymore. You can't, you have to kind of try to find that yourself. And sometimes you can get so caught up in getting the job done or striving for perfection or all this kind of stuff that then you lose, yourself in the process because you just get so caught up in that.
You lose sight of the balance of needing to have something outside or talking to other people.
Yeah. So, I think this is a great reminder for all of us that you have to take a step back. And I think Sabrina in her, inherently, she needs play. She's seeking play. And her psychic power is not fun, and so she needs that balance between her work and playtime.
But also, we've found out all of this about her from the mysterious man,
yes,
who obviously shows concern for her, but doesn't have a way to reach her or to communicate with her. And he's been around for a long time, and he has a picture of her, so obviously he must be her photographer. According to Ash.
Right.
But we find out
that he's Sabrina's dad, which we called. We got that.
Yes.
We called that.
And that the mother has been turned into a doll as in the dollhouse. And
that's a pretty big rift. I'm pretty sure that that's what the rift was. Sabrina turned her mom into a doll, and then that's why this has been so tough.
And her dad, it seems, kept working on his psychic abilities since he can pop in and out. I wonder how often he pops over to the dollhouse or
he can't come visit. He can't go over there.
He can't shrink down to dollhouse size.
I don't think he can go visit.
We don't know.
That must be terrible. And because Brock and Misty are in the dollhouse and they're talking about, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And then all of a sudden this voice comes out of nowhere and it's the mom. And she goes, it's so nice to have like other
visitors.
People. So how long has she been in there? Just by herself?
Must be years from the pictures of the flashback.
Yeah.
Sabrina was pretty young when she blasted her parents away. Speaking of blasting, Team Rocket shows up
finally
in window washer costumes.
Amazing.
And
they're very funny in this episode. I mean, they're funny in every episode. I do think that they are my favorite part.
They're totally my favorite part.
They're just so fun. They're so fun. But they come up and Meowth is saying, what are we going to do this time to get Pikachu? And they go, we have the perfect thing. We've got the deadliest weapon. It's been perfected over thousands of years. And it's a net.
Fishing net.
A fishing net.
Which is true. It has been around for a long time.
And James goes, it takes a genius to realize a net is a perfect weapon. So funny. They're just like, and then Jesse and James are gushing over each other, like about how smart they are. And they're going, it's just as smart as Einstein who invented the light bulb.
Right, which just floats right out there.
You just go, whoa.
Hilarious.
Which is kind of bad because kids are watching this and they would believe that.
I know.
But maybe you
Einstein
don't believe anything.
did not invent the light bulb.
No, he
did a lot of other things. But they also go back and forth with the chicken and the egg thing, too. So we've got a lot happening there, theoretically.
Mm-hmm.
And then Haunter comes, scares them, and they flip out of their window washer basket-y thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're hanging onto the side, trying to decide who gets to survive.
Right.
And they fall into the sidewalk and create giant holes
because
where they fell.
Haunter makes Jessie laugh, and so she lets go.
She cracks.
Haunter's trying to make her laugh, and she's not doing it, and then she cracks and they fall.
I loved that they said Team Rocket has been trained to
resist all silliness and be totally serious.
That's the best. Yeah. The best.
Which is so funny because they are the silliest thing in the show.
Yes, exactly.
That's so funny because they themselves are not serious at all.
Well, that is one great acting thing, let's call it for lack of another word right now, that you must take everything seriously or you have to commit to it. Because if you think it's funny, the audience won't laugh.
True.
You have to commit and go whole hog.
You have to believe it. You have to believe what you're doing, and believe that that's the right thing.
So they do. They go all the way in. If they were laughing at themselves ever, they wouldn't be as funny.
That's very true.
They fall into the sidewalk. Ash, Pikachu, Misty are going by. They think they hear them. And
Haunter reappears.
Ash thinks he hears them.
Yeah. Haunter reappears and they go, well, he says, oh, you stopped Team Rocket from getting Pikachu.
So now let's get to Sabrina.
And he goes, let's get to Sabrina. And Haunter is like, no, but then kind of begrudgingly accepts. So they go back. Ash challenges Sabrina one more time. And guess what? Haunter, nowhere to be seen.
Again.
It's disappeared once more.
She picks Kadabra.
Oh, yeah.
Again.
Big surprise there.
And Pikachu ends up fighting to defend Ash, which is really terrific.
It's very admirable. And Pikachu doesn't want Ash to be turned into a doll. So they are battling, and Pikachu gets in a good hit, but Kadabra revives or something.
Kadabra is quite magical in the sense that nothing can defeat it.
Yeah.
But
except a ghost Pokemon, which I still don't get. And I tried to look that up, and I'm not really sure
why.
Right. But we know why this ghost Pokemon can defeat them.
Haunter shows up and pulls out all of its shenanigans.
Yeah. So Haunter comes, and then also the mysterious man comes. And Haunter's hanging around Sabrina, and she and the doll go, this isn't fair. It's 2-on-1. And the mysterious man goes, it's not, Haunter's just there. He's just playing around. So it's not against the rules. Mm-hmm. So Haunter's up to its own thing.
Making faces.
Doing all this stuff.
To try to get her to laugh, essentially.
Yeah.
And then it brings out one of those classic cartoon bombs with the fuse going down, and it explodes.
Right.
And then Haunter's laughing its head off, which it only has a head and 2 hands, just laughing away. And then Sabrina starts laughing and starts laughing uncontrollably.
Mm-hmm.
The doll gets a small smile and then floats away.
And Kadabra, because Kadabra and Sabrina are psychically linked, Kadabra is also rolling on the floor, laughing uncontrollably. So, in essence, they forfeit and Ash wins.
Yes.
Because they're unable to continue the battle.
And the mystery man is so just flabbergasted that she's actually laughing. He hasn't heard her laugh in so long.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really just beautiful.
Yeah.
Actually.
And hilarious. And they're just all laughing. And Brock and Misty come back. They're brought back out of the dolls because I guess that's the thing is once the link is broken or something.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's, and the mother's back.
The mother's back. And that's basically it. So Ash gets the badge.
The mystery man gives Ash the badge.
Yes.
Which is interesting because it's Sabrina's gym.
But he's her dad, so maybe.
The keeper of the badge.
Yeah.
I don't know. She hasn't lost for so long that Maybe she didn't know where it was.
Yeah, he's like, don't worry, I'll go looking for it.
I'll hold it for you.
It's a little dusty, but here you go,
Till you're
Ash.
old enough to hold your own badges.
Right.
And then they're leaving and heading off to Celadon City, which is a beautiful color. And Team Rocket is in the hole
Oh
still,
my gosh.
and cement is being poured on them.
This is horrible.
I just thought that was pretty shocking. Both of us were just staring aghast at the screen.
Yeah, because also Ash, Misty, and Brock are walking right past it. And Ash again says, I think I heard Team Rocket. And Misty goes, we have bigger things to worry about, like where we're going. And you're like, oh my God. And they just leave.
Let's go.
He goes, you're right. And that's it. It's just so crazy.
The three are covered in cement, but luckily they blast out of there and are saved. They're going to have to take a very quick, long shower. What would
you do? Like, if you get sprayed by a skunk, you have to wash yourself in tomato juice.
Mm-hmm.
What would you wash yourself with?
You've just got a power hose off.
Maybe, and with hot water. Maybe it has to be like
I'm
really
not sure
hot.
if the temperature, technically, I don't know if the temperature matters, but perhaps the cold would cause the cement to set quicker. I'm not sure.
Yeah, or you could take a bath in like rocks.
No, you couldn't take a bath because it would
not
would
water.
Separate into the water and then it would start hardening. Yes.
But you could be like in a rock tumbler because maybe the other rocks would help break up. You know what I mean? Erosion.
I know what you mean, but I'm not sure because if it had hardened to that
Everybody
point,
listening is nodding their heads going, you are so right,
Just
Rita.
hose off.
You
hose
are
off.
so right.
I think the important the important parts of this episode, which, as we said, was kind of a rehash of things, balance, quite important, and laughter.
Yes.
And so
it truly is the best medicine.
There was an article in the New York Times this past week that was about a book called Sleep Well, Take Risks, Squish the Peas. And this man did a study of people, all types of people, who are the healthiest, what kind of activity is the best for your health. And he landed on toddlers. And many people think toddlers, terrible twos, hideous to be around. But really, toddlers have, they said tantrums are maybe 2 or 3 minutes. But when you're a parent, they seem to last for hours. But there are 5 things that he found that toddlers do that really enhance their health, and that we adults or even children could more consciously do. And one of them was positive private speech. When you're going, okay, I can do this. You can do it.
Yeah.
Let's just do that. There's this video of a kid on a snowboard going down a hill, and they had somehow mic'd the child.
Oh, I love those videos.
The child was talking to itself the whole time. Okay, come on, we're going to do this thing. We're going to go. And it was that's the kind of talk that we all have to be doing all the time.
Yes.
More of, you got it. Yeah, that kind
self-talk.
Of positive. Yeah, kids are learning to speak. And if they're learning positive speech, that's even better.
Yeah.
The second is moving. Toddlers move about 5 hours a day. Again, as a parent, it seems like years.
Yeah.
Constantly, but they move, and they move instinctively and joyfully. So even if you, in the middle of your workday, you go out and you walk around the block, or you get up and you just dance right there, or you just are doing something, it really helps your health, even 10 minutes a day.
Yeah. I think dancing is great. Sometimes I have to do that. If I'm really tired or whatever, or I'm listening to a great song, I'll just get up and dance. And you do feel better. And
Totally.
if you really, really do it, like really just
squiggle around and
give in and just get into your body and just move.
Sometimes
it feels good.
The music does help to break up all your perhaps negative thoughts, or the more mundane things that you have to do all day. You can throw on some music and just, whatever the music is.
Totally.
Even
and
classical
if you're not
music.
Looking in a mirror, you are amazing.
You can really let loose.
Really tell yourself, wow, I'm really good at this.
Yes.
And nobody has to know otherwise. So
true. The next one was asking questions.
Oh.
Toddlers ask a lot of questions.
Yeah. Why?
Exactly. Exactly right. And I think obviously when you're asking questions, you're getting information, but it does help you to build relationships.
Totally.
Because you need someone to answer the question.
Well, and I think also that is a deeper conversation about having curiosity. I think too, that sense of wonder. The thing is, toddlers or little kids in general ask questions because they don't understand. They want to learn more.
They have an innate sense of curiosity.
Yeah, and even though sometimes it can get really annoying when it's constantly why, but that's the point, is that they're constantly trying to learn. And I think we all have to approach our lives and everything with that sense of wonder.
Mm-hmm. And when you have to answer the why,
yeah, it really gets you thinking.
And to think outside your normal pathway.
Yeah.
Because you have to think about, how do you describe this thing that you've seen every day in a different way to someone who doesn't know. So all of that is great. And again, curiosity, I think, is probably the most important. Now, number 4 is sleep, to kind of get enough sleep. And also, if you need to, take a nap in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
He says 20 to 30 minutes max.
Yes, I've heard that like a 20-minute nap is kind of the perfect
Shut your eyes, shut down, let your mind wander, and shut down for a minute also. But that, if you need it, take a nap.
Turn on this podcast.
Snooze away.
And take a nap. And once it's over, you'll know that you've had a restful sleep.
And lastly, laughing.
Yes.
Which that really helps. It also exercises your stomach muscles.
Totally. It's a great thing for all aspects of your life.
Yes, because laughter.
The best medicine.
And does laughter keep the doctor away? That's an apple. A laugh a day. But it also strengthens your stomach muscles because you're laughing from your gut.
Yeah.
And hearty
it's
laughs.
cathartic. Sometimes when you have a really hefty laugh, it just gets that stuff out of you. You know, you feel refreshed. It's like having a good cry. But ultimately, I would prefer having a good laugh.
It's totally better for you. I mean, laughter is what heals Sabrina in this episode. Haunter and all those its ghostly friends are always laughing and trying to make each other laugh, and they are buoyant. They float around.
Oh my gosh!
So our moods could be buoyant.
They're so joyful. I mean, that's the thing, is Haunter is so joyful. He's always it is always just doing fun things. It just lives its life trying to make people laugh, wanting to laugh. You know, it's just going about its business, just doing its own thing.
Right.
Just playing around. And I think that having that sense of play is so important. It's obviously not the only thing you can do. I mean, as we see, Ash has his responsibilities and he needs Haunter to help him. And Haunter, because it's so, just having fun, it's not really the most dependable thing to have on Ash's team, right? Because Ash can't rely on Haunter. Even though Haunter's made a promise to Ash. But in the end, it is that joyfulness and that playful spirit that, breaks Sabrina and brings her back into herself.
That's right.
So you've got to have that balance, I think, that's a big part of this episode.
And all of Pokemon is about learning about the world around you and going after your goals, but they are playing along the way.
Yeah.
And learning to, pull out their different strengths so that they can use it in a battle or to help someone out, or they need to help Team Rocket out a little bit more. But
I do agree.
But still, it's, all of us, if we bring a bit more playfulness into this, I think we will be better humans.
Agreed.
And better to be around.
Yeah. And, sometimes I think with this episode and also in general with Ash and then also with Sabrina, that sometimes they get so much in their head and you get so focused on your goal that you forget that, you're also here to have fun. And with a lot of things, you can't enjoy yourself because you're just constantly worried about the next thing or constantly worried about, how am I going to get this done? And so it's important, I think, just to have that reminder. And that's why you have friends. I mean, that's why you have other people around you to help you and remind you to have set aside time for play, have a couple laughs, and then you can get back to work. So
right, it makes you a better person. Balance.
Channel your inner Haunter.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I guess this is a good time for the Poke Wrap Up,
where we hear from you, the Pokemon community.
We asked you to send in your favorite Pokemon memories, stories, and inspirations.
And here are a few of this week's.
Our first is from Sean, who writes, I love your podcast. Me being a 39-year-old Pokemon fan, the show was responsible for making me miss my middle school bus about a third of the time in the 1998 school year. However, it led me down a path in which I memorized the entire 151 Pokédex, and eventually, my 4 nephews, my brother, and sister-in-law all became Pokemon fans, and we would occasionally hold family Pokemon battles, with me being the major trainer. Also, me and my one lifelong friend seeing Pokemon, the first movie, in theaters, and being the only 15-year-olds in a sea of kids, and hearing the kids shout out the names of the various Pokemon on screen, and then theorizing with my friend when Donphan came on screen, and we thought it was a special evolution of Rhyhorn. Thank you for being my Ash Ketchum.
Next up is Ray from Oregon. Since age 6, I have had a constant love for Pokemon. Collecting the cards sparked the initial beginnings of my interest in drawing and art. Pokemon the first movie and Pokemon Stadium, the N64 game, in particular, filled me with so much happiness as a child. In fact, I remember writing a letter to you, Veronica, at age 10. However, at the time, I had attempted to mail it to the Game Freak address on the back of my Pokemon White case. Pokemon as a whole comforted me in various stages of my life, and even indirectly helped me with discovering my gender identity as non-binary, via Silver from Gen 4. I am now 22 and find it so bittersweet that Ash has handed off the torch to Liko and Roy in the new series. Even now, I still love Pokemon. Hope to see you both in person someday.
Special thanks to Sean and Ray for sharing their wonderful memories with us. And we want to hear from all of you.
Email us a short recording or write to us at trainersguidepod@gmail.com.
And try to keep it short, maybe 30 seconds or so. We don't want to have to edit.
Oh, and please include your first name and where you're from.
Well, that about wraps up today's episode of The Trainer's Guide. And, as they say, to be continued. We hope that you continue to join us on this journey that is The Trainer's Guide.
As you know, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Wherever you're listening now.
And if you subscribe, comment, and rate the podcast, it helps others find the show and keeps us on the air.
Thank you so much in advance for your generosity and all of your amazing support.
Trainer's Guide is a production of Boom Integrated.
We are co-executive producing this along with
the amazing Adrian Glover
and the incomparable Robin Lai. I'm your host, Veronica Taylor.
And I'm your host, Rena Taylor.
And this has been The Trainer's Guide. We'll see you out there on the road.